Jimbo said yesterday that at some point while you were in Tuscaloosa, he was going to beat your butt. That wasn't the word that he used, but did you have any response for that?
In golf?
I think he meant on the football field.
Well, I'm sure there'll come a day, you know.
Let's go! Right here in the middle of the damn field! Let's bring it down, Tigers on 3! Hell yeah! Because this is our house from now on!
Yes, sir!
Tigers on 3! 1, 2, 3, Tigers!
But I'm going to tell you this, we ain't done yet.
I got to ask you about the message on your shirt.
My favorite holiday of the year, I guess, and, so just, someone gave me a shirt, and Merry Christmas, they spelled it wrong, so, it was free.
Coach, it's a great day for you, huh?
That's it's better than average, I'll tell you that. We played LSU because, New England, Green Bay, and the Chiefs had somebody scheduled.
You know what we're going to do, though? We've got to quickly call the Hogs for the race back.
Big Toe! Turn that
The fact you're dressed as Darth Vader, do you feel like you were somewhat of a villain in this fight? I mean, you charged out on the field pretty hard.
I'm trying to get our players off the field, because I know we have a big game next week.
All I want to do is fucking eat! I want you to eat! I want you to eat! I want you to want this shit! Do you want it? Do you want it? Show me!
Welcome in to the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter. And I'm joined as always by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Vols on Twitter. What are you up to, you big Tennessee homer?
Hey, buddy. How are you doing?
Why are you so down there, brother? I mean, are you sweating out all these coaching rumors?
Here's the deal, Mike. Obviously, my Tennessee Vols won, check. My lock of the week won, check. A lot of good things happened this week. I'm totally pumped, totally excited. Fantastic weekend. We're going to talk about it. But, Mike, through it all, it never really dawned on me until maybe the Iron Bowl that this was the last week. I mean, I wasn't ready. You know what I'm saying? I was ready I know we're going to talk bowl games, and those got different things, and we got the SEC championship. Yes, that's going on, but there's a lot of teams, there's a lot of players that we're never going to get to see again play college football, and it just feels like I didn't do my job in soaking it up. You know what I'm saying? So little down because this season went by so fast, Mike. I don't know. I thought last year was quick, but damn, Mike, this year flew by.
All it is, brother, we wait and we wait and we wait, and it's gone in a blink of an eye. You know it? So I'm just happy that it went out with a bang. I mean, there were so many great games over the weekend in the SEC and even nationally. I got caught up, kind of like you. I don't pay a whole ton of attention to these other conferences, but when we got snow games for Ohio State, Michigan, I saw Penn State, Michigan State. I got caught up in the Bedlam, Oklahoma State when the SEC action was over. There was just good games galore on Saturday, and it brought out the love of the sport, not just the SEC but the entire sport, but of course the SEC where we got so much drama and. Man, as soon as the final whistle, the drama really started heating up, Shane, and already did the emergency pod. Go back and check that out if you missed it. But I just want to get your quick thoughts because it's official. No more rumors, no more speculation. Billy Napier, the Louisiana head coach, now the coach of the Florida Gators. What is your first take on that?
I'm kind of torn, man, because it looks sexy on paper. You know what I'm saying? But so many coaches have come through the University of Florida that looked sexy on paper. That's my biggest concern. Is this another name in a long line of coaches that just don't get the job done? Is this one of the coaches they fire in 2-3 years? Or is this the guy that puts the University of Florida back on the map? Dude, they're in the spot, man. When you were playing NCAA, if the Florida job came open, you took it because it was a recruit hotbed. They have everything they need to compete. Yeah. It's in the East. You love that. I think it's a picture perfect university to win national championships. So is Napier the guy? I'm a coin toss right now, Mike. I'm not ready to say yes, but they needed something different and they got it with Napier.
Yeah, and I just love the fact, Shane, he's coached under Saban. He's coached under Dabo. Now, there have been other guys that have done that, and they've flopped as head coaches. But you combine that with the fact that he's run his own program for 4 years, been very successful down there at Louisiana. I like that. I love the fact, if I'm a Gator fan, that this is a guy that, there was interest by Mississippi State. There was interest by South Carolina. There was interest by Auburn. Passed on all those, and some say even Tennessee last cycle. Yeah. And if he's waiting for it, he's a calculated guy. He's not just jumping at a job, which so many of these guys do. So I really love that fact. But and fair or unfair, Shane, how I think this is going to be judged is
recruiting, man.
Who those LSU Tigers? Well, recruiting, yeah, but who those LSU Tigers hire, Shane? And because Billy Napier there in Louisiana, right under LSU's nose. LSU, for whatever reason, it apparently had no interest in Billy Napier. We'll come to find out whether that's a huge mistake or not. But LSU, who they go hire, Shane? It ain't going to be Lincoln Riley. Oh, man. The message boards, the Twitter. Everybody was following. Oh, my God. You see who Lincoln Riley followed on Twitter?
He bought a boat down there in Louisiana, man.
Well, if he did, he just did it for vacation because he came out and said, hey, I ain't going to be LSU's new coach. Turns right around, Shane, and takes the Southern Cal job. That never in a million years would I have thought. How many times we do this podcast, Shane says, LSU or Southern Cal, what's a better job? No hesitation. It's LSU all the way. But apparently old Lincoln, he looked over there at the SEC and said, I don't want none of that right there. They fire you a season or two after you win the national championship, right after winning the division championship. Yep. I do not want any part of that. And, hey, it is what it is. But
do you want that? The expectations on both of those jobs. You think even Dan Mullen there at Florida, it wasn't like he was a huge – he wasn't like he didn't – not get to a bowl game. You know what I'm saying? He did. He had productive program and won a lot of games down there at Florida. And it's just like, man, the expectations are so high. You take 1 year off down there, you're gone. 2 years away from a national championship, you're fired. I mean, that doesn't happen in the NFL, does it? You don't win a Super Bowl and 2 years later you get fired. That's just how competitive the SEC. And I think, man, I don't care what the people say, and I'll say it right now. Lincoln Lincoln cares about Lincoln. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason that he didn't entertain the LSU job, Mike. And the reason is because those Oklahoma Sooners are coming to the SEC. They're no longer going to be the big dogs. And you cannot have 10-win, 11-win seasons in Oklahoma. I just don't think it's going to happen, Mike. I just truly don't. I think they'll be successful, but I think there'll be years that they're competitive and they compete for SEC championships, but they're not going to be able to do it year in, year out like they were doing in Oklahoma. And what he's doing is he's hiding. His ass went to California to go compete in that weak-ass conference and stay away from the SEC. He was thinking about Lincoln Riley. That should say more about him, not toughing it out with Oklahoma. I mean, where else would you want to be? This is the premier SEC destination. We're adding 2 more powerhouse programs, and you turncoat and get out of town? That's because you're worried about that little boy record. Get out of here. Get out of here with that nonsense, Mike. You don't want him, LSU. You don't want a guy like this because when the reality hits and he can't get you those wins that he was getting over there in Oklahoma, he's going to be one of those that just does what he did this week, and that's leave his team behind.
Yeah, the SEC is not for the weak-minded. That is for sure. But what that's got everybody on Rocky Top there worried now, Shane, that old Josh Heupel go jump to the Oklahoma job, even though there's no real speculation that that's even going to happen or that's in the rumor mill.
Mike,
But,
tell him what you did to me.
Tell
Tell him what you did to me. Broke. I mean, you talk about I couldn't get to Twitter quick enough.
So I texted cousin Shane, a big Tennessee homer. Bruce Feldman reports Josh Heupel to OU. And then I waited about 10 whole minutes, probably the longest 10 minutes of Shane's life. And I said, just kidding.
Dude, I am going through Twitter feeds. I'm looking at his replies and likes and everything. I was like, I don't see it. Maybe he deleted it. That's what I was thinking, you know. So then I'm doing the search and everything. I'm telling you, Mike, Tennessee Volunteer fans, we've been hurt, man. Lane Kiffin did this. He came up here for a year, made our program relevant again, kept it close with Alabama. We were already hanging banners up here in Knoxville, and his ass left with Monty. You know what I'm saying? I'll never forget talking about his dad hiding behind the desk because he's afraid he's going to get hurt, man, as we're burning couches in the street. This program has been hurt before. So, you know, a lot of people are saying, there's no way, Heupel. Yeah, you could say that all you want, but it's happened to us. You know, fool me once, shame on me. Everybody's on alert. But, Mike, give me peace of mind. Tell me why Heupel is not going to go to Oklahoma. Please. It better be good. Come on,
Well,
man.
last time I checked, he's got no relationship with university down there. I think they've even honored the national championship team. I don't even think he went to that. He used to. Here's how I would equate it, Shane. You know, I'm not saying Josh Heupel was as good as Peyton Manning, but he's the last quarterback that led them to a national championship.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Josh Heupel, and they've had a string of Heisman winners, but none of them won the national championship. So that's how popular Heupel is down there in Norman. And imagine if Tennessee hired Peyton Manning, you know, to be a coordinator, a quarterback coach. You're grooming him. Let's say Philip Fulmer did it, because that's an even better example, because he was hired by Bob Stoops to run the offense. They were grooming him to be the next head coach of Oklahoma, and then they fired his ass, and they brought in a younger offensive mind to replace him. So that's kind of how I equate it. If Peyton was brought in, and then they fired Peyton and brought in old Ryan Leaf to be the head coach of Tennessee Vols, you know what I mean? Like, you think Peyton would turn around here in a couple years and say, well, I will be the new Tennessee coach.
Right.
No, I mean, I think that bridge is burned. I think that chapter is closed, and you know, he just does not have a good relationship with Oklahoma. I know he played there, but to my knowledge, he's not set foot on that campus in a decade, and I don't think he's got any desire to do so. So,
well, I'll tell
you know, just because he played there,
yeah,
that doesn't do it for me.
And I'll tell you, the AD is a factor. You know, here's our AD from UCF, comes up to Knoxville, first hires Heupel. You know, this is a package deal, and I don't see that friendship disconnecting right now. So things are going good on Rocky Top. Don't mess it up. I'm with you, Mike. I don't think it's an opportunity. Let me ask you, now that position is open, I mean, say what you want, that's an SEC opening. Is there any names that you see floating around for the Oklahoma job, or are they the same names you're seeing with LSU, or what's going out there? What are you hearing behind the scenes?
Yeah, and how about this, Shane? You know, what it really makes me think of, because Lincoln Riley was so highly regarded, the fact that he left this job, you know, I'm not trying to talk down to Oklahoma because it's one of the proudest programs in college football history, but what does that say about what Lincoln thought about the future of Oklahoma going into the SEC after dominating the Big 12 Conference? And that was what a lot of people said, Shane, when Texas and Oklahoma was officially announced to the SEC. They said, why would Oklahoma make this move when they've dominated that? I think they've won it 6 years in a row. This is the first year in 7 seasons they've not won the Big 12. Why would they make this move? And, of course, the answer is money, but, you know, it's going to put them at a competitive disadvantage. There's not, you know, they're close to Texas. Surely they can recruit guys from Texas still, but, you know, it's just not the same as, you know, the recruiting landscape that these SEC programs have to pull from. So, you know, I don't know. I think maybe the Oklahoma job, that's going to be a tough one in the SEC. We'll see how they structure the league moving forward, but the only name that I've really heard that I think makes a ton of sense is and has actually won a little bit off the radar, Shane, is the Clemson defensive coordinator, Brent Venables. Apparently he's formerly defensive coordinator down there in Oklahoma. I think that's a job that he would certainly take interest in. And then after Lincoln left, Shane, I don't know if you heard, Bob Stoops is going to be the interim. I'm not suggesting that he stays on full time, but how about from one Stoops to another, man? Maybe this is the move for Mark Stoops to take over for the opening down there. I could certainly see that as well.
Golly, man, there's so much rumor going on. It's tough to keep up with it all. I mean, It was tough enough when there was 12 teams, Now we got 16 teams to look after. So, yeah, there's all kinds of rumors floating around. I like how aggressive Florida was in getting this name out there. They're ahead of it, man. We got recruiting starting. That's one thing I think is real big with Napier, especially being down there in Louisiana, man. This wasn't a big program, but this is a guy that spent a lot of time in those Louisiana high schools, a lot of time in those Texas high schools. Now he's got those relationships he's picking up here in Florida. So he's been in those recruiting hotbeds. He's been around these guys, and that's what it boils down to, Mike. Florida wants some studs, man. They want to be the top recruiting class, and there's no reason they can't be because they've been there many, many years. So I think that's the key here, getting them in early, right here before National Signing Day. Maybe you can salvage some recruits here that have fell off. Maybe you can bring them back in. I think the biggest recruit down there is AR-15, man. Just getting with those players, getting with the staff, letting these kids know, re-recruits, even though they're on campus, man. We've seen it at Tennessee. That transfer portal gets hot after a new coach. So that's the big one. Win these hearts over, keep these kids playing, and I think you got a hell of a hire down there. Now,
Shane, we do got a ton of games to recap, and before we even jump into that, spoiler alert here, I'm not really breaking any news here, but the SEC's now got 13 teams headed to the postseason, 13 of 14. Only Vanderbilt is the program not going to be bowling this season in the SEC. That's an all-time new record, and I just think it, they say SEC's top heavy. I mean, my goodness, the entire league outside of one is headed to the postseason. And if, at this point we're beating a dead horse, but it's the SEC and it's everybody else, and that's never even been in doubt.
No, and you wonder why Lincoln left. Oh man, yeah. This is. I was texting Mike during the game Saturday, and I said, man, I'm secretly pulling for LSU here because we had Florida already with the win. I said, LSU gets this thing, man. We're going to have every team but Vanderbilt in a bowl game. I've never seen anything like that, but that just shows you when we say any given Saturday, it's been that every single week this year. The only team that never struggled really was the Georgia Bulldogs, but everyone else, boy, they went through it, and that's what you love. That's why I like the league expanding, because eventually we're going to filter out these other teams, and it's just going to be us versus the world, So, and it kind of already is. This is a sign of it, and I just hope this is a year that we really start taking the bowl serious. I'd love to see a sweep, man. Nothing would be sweeter than an SEC sweep.
13-0. Well, it's going to start. The action started here, of course, on Thanksgiving. Shane, we haven't had a chance to recap his game just yet, but the Egg Bowl won again by them Ole Miss Rebels, Shane, 31-21 in Starkville with those annoying cowbells, as Lane Kiffin calls them there. But hey, this is the first time Ole Miss has ever won 10 games, Shane, in a regular season. So credit to Lane Kiffin. What an outstanding job he's done down there this season with them Rebels. But, this game, a little bit of a slow start. But, in the end, I thought it kind of was some of the things that I said, Shane. The more balanced team won the football game. The team with the kicking issues, I mean, those missed kicks were huge from Mississippi State. The drops right before halftime, that killed Mississippi State. If you missed it, they had an opportunity. 3 drops, Shane. 3 would-be touchdowns. They had to settle for the field goal, and then the kicker shanks it. And that was just so deflating going into halftime with down 10-6, and they just Mississippi State was never able to recapture that magic, and in due part to, I hate to say this, the fake injuries, Shane.
Yeah.
I mean, the fake injuries continue to come up, and I think I've seen a lot of Ole Miss fans saying, "My God, you're beating a dead horse here," but I don't think I've ever watched a season play out, Shane, where the ESPN announcers and whatnot are just basically saying this is like, we're dishonoring the game.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of are, man, because it's like they found a loophole. I credit them for that. I mean, it's technically not a penalty, but I guarantee you they're going to switch this rule in the offseason, and we're going to have to call it the Kiffin Ole Miss rule. You know what?
Well, they call it the new mascot is the fainting goats, So that's the one I keep seeing on the Twitters there. But yeah, the fact of the matter is they found a loophole. I mean, there's part of me that hates it, and there's part of me that accepts it because it is legal. You know what I'm saying? It is something that you can do. It's something my team has done. It's something other teams have done. Nobody does it quite as much as Ole Miss. In fact, I think they got a damn camera just dedicated to recording constantly that side of the ball so they can zoom in on these players and their phantom injuries. So it's a loophole. But I think that gets corrected in the offseason, Mike. I think something's going to happen here because it has been going on. It's just now getting brought up national attention. So that part sucks. But that's not why Mississippi State lost this game. Yeah, there was opportunities, blown opportunities. You said it right there before half. A couple of key drops, easy. I mean, I'm talking. I could catch it in the end zone. You know what I'm saying? And I know the weather's bad and all this stuff, but these kids got these special gloves, man. It ain't like the stuff we grew up with. I mean, you can catch in the rain, man. You can catch with these gloves. And I just think that was the big one with Mississippi State with the field goals, just missed opportunities because those opportunities could have got you leads. Those opportunities could have got the momentum going. Those opportunities could have kept Ole Miss's offense off the field, and they just weren't able to do that. So I credit Ole Miss for the victory, but this was really Mississippi dropping the ball, literally, pun intended.
Yeah, and both defenses really, stepping up for the most part until Ole Miss kind of got that ground game going in the second half. Again, that was huge, being able to punch a ball in there late in the second half on the ground specifically because Matt Corral didn't really take over. Will Rogers, he had his moments, scored late, and has padded his stats a little bit, but it was an off performance from him. He remember going into this, everybody was saying, "My God, they got the hottest quarterback in this matchup." But again, it was these defenses stepping up, and man, just another wild Egg Bowl, but won by Ole Miss Rebels.
It felt like it was a competition between Drummond and Polk there for a minute. You know what I'm saying? And then Polk, of course, got hurt. Man, I thought he was out. When I watched that lineman roll, I was like, man, that knee ain't coming back until 2022. You know what I'm saying? But he was able to bounce back and get competitive. But it seemed like they did lose a little steam around that area, because Polk was a big part of that offense. And it was a chess match. I loved watching these two minds work. They gave the coaches, it felt like they gave their players all the opportunities to win these games, and they were playing, man. These kids were playing like their hair was on fire, but it's just Ole Miss did what Ole Miss does, and they got the last laugh.
Yeah, Sam Williams had 2 more sacks. I think he's second in the SEC. He was huge in this performance for the Rebels, and just the key to the game in my mind, Shane, I said the ground game. Ole Miss had 7 rushing plays of 10 or more yards that went for 118. Mississippi State only had 2 for 25, and the more balanced offense won out here in the end.
Yeah, that and Ole Miss just continuing those drives. How many times did we have third? Now I will tell you, Mike. I tweeted out there was that. What was it, 2nd and 28 or something like that? That huge. They had just. It felt like Mississippi State was kind of getting that momentum back. It felt like they missed an apparent hold there on the side, but That was a dagger, man. It just took the wind right out of this. That's all they did was boo and thought about that one play. Ole Miss they found ways to keep the chains moving, especially on third down. They were 11 of 18. You couldn't get them off the field. Mississippi State would do great the first two plays, but then they'd screw up on third down and let Ole Miss get beyond the chains. So that was, again, that's what I felt like. It was just a couple mistakes, couple of clear mistakes that if they could have corrected, they could have won that game. But ifs and buts and candies and nuts, we'd all have a wonderful Christmas, brother. So, you got a whole year to hold that egg bowl over them Mississippi State Bulldog fans, and trust me, them fans are going to do it for the full year.
Len, there's going to be a lot made about the 10 wins. Is this what you foresaw when you started the season, or did it kind of click for you later? Did you guys have this sort of potential?
I would have foreseen this season. I don't know if you would ask me 2 years ago necessarily when we first got here, but after spending a year with the offensive firepower and coming back, I don't know if I would have predicted if you had told me the quarterback would have been hurt, all three receivers would have been hurt, and all three of those guys missed time, and some all at the same time. I don't know that I would have predicted that, but our defense held us together through those injuries and did it again tonight, and I mean, the third downs are kind of crazy. 11 of 18 on offense and 4 of 14 for those guys was a huge part of the game.
And I know when we've talked to Matt earlier this year, he's brought up that there's just something special about this team and the guys in the locker room. From your perspective, what is it that has kind of made this team a little bit different?
I don't know. I kind of call them a blended family. It just kind of gets put together. Some have been here 6 years, from the beginning, and some have been here 1 year. And they've come from all over the place. We got transfers, walk-ons, everything. So it's really cool to see them pick each other up. Every coach always says, this team's a family, and they say that every year, and that's not really true. So this is one of those unique years, unique teams. They really are, and they protect each other like that and play for each other like that.
I know you kind of downplayed the rivalry this week, but after that Ely touchdown, we saw you kind of get into it with your sideline with some of the fans. Just what does it feel like to you to kind of get swept up in the emotion of a moment like that?
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that, but I get it now. Like I said, it was different than coming here in Alabama. There is, a lot of things said to you on the way out. Their players, say a lot of things during the game, and it gets emotional and gets competitive. So I did kind of get caught up in that. And those bells are really annoying, by the way. So, and they don't even come close to following the rules. So whatever rule that is that they're supposed to stop, they don't.
Hey, Mike, how much of a different game do you think it is if you guys can't score before halftime there? I think 3 drops and then the missed field goal.
Yeah, how about that? We haven't dropped 3 balls in a row for a long time. I don't know, because I think sometimes we'd be 7 points better. I know that we'd be 7 points better. I think, but everybody was locked in. In a game like this, it's a fine line between being too wired up and and then too discouraged. People don't really go flat because they don't care. I mean, in a game like this, everybody cares, but you care too much, try too hard, then you're out of control, and then you get too discouraged, then you just wallow and mope. And I didn't see any of that out of our team, but I did think we tried too hard and missed some opportunities, which was too bad, and kind of key situation type of stuff.
Mike, with Nolan McCourty, makes the first 2 kick, misses the second 2. I mean, with him right now, do you see anything in maybe his form that's off, or is it more so just mental on some of his struggles?
I imagine it's a little of both, I mean, if you're not right mentally, your form's not going to be very good. Because if your form's good, the ball doesn't have any choice but to go through, I mean, the ball's not deciding where it goes.
I know the final, Mike over here, the final regular season game just ended, but how do you kind of reflect on what your team did this season, 7 wins, and I guess the strides you guys felt like you made?
I think we improved probably more than any team in the conference, but it wasn't really satisfactory for us from the standpoint we felt like we could have done a better job than we did. And we certainly think that, we left a lot of meat on the bone as far as opportunities. But with that said, we steadily improved the entire year. So beat a lot of ranked teams and lost to a couple of them. And then, we don't get too tired of these guys. You're going to see nearly all of them next year. So.
And then on Friday's action, Shane, a little bit. It's almost like the storylines heading into the matchup. One out yet again here as Arkansas beats Missouri 34-17. Finally snaps that streak over the Tigers.
Mm-hmm.
And the Razorbacks, Shane, first time ever, I believe, all 3 rivalry trophies. Now they possess the Golden Boot, the Battle Line, and whatever the hell they call the Texas A&M one. Whatever it is, the Razorbacks got them all. They were posing with the photos after the game. And, this was a game where Traylon Burks took over. He's a man amongst boys. 7 catches, 129 and a touchdown. KJ Jefferson was outstanding as always. And then on the flip side, it was Tyler Beatty, another 200-yard performance, doing everything he could possibly do to keep his team in the ball game. But it wasn't enough because, again, they're not balanced. Connor Bazelak, I know he's banged up, but, man, just the more I watch him, I don't know, he's just not the answer, at least not right now. Missing on these deep balls, not very consistent. And Arkansas came out very, very sloppy. It felt like a team that had went toe-to-toe against Alabama and come up short. That's what it felt like in the first half. But I'm sure Sam Pittman let them know how he felt about that at halftime, because they came out energized and just whooped up on Missouri. And at the end of the day, Shane, I know there were some disappointing results for the Arkansas Razorbacks this season, but most people were saying this was the most difficult schedule in the country heading into the year. Mm-hmm. And at 8-4, I think Sam Pittman and the Razorbacks, they're going to take that facing this gauntlet in year 2 of the Sam Pittman era.
Mike, a couple things on this game. I mean, obviously it was kind of a sloppy first half, man. And it just felt like Arkansas was the one that took advantage of the halftime adjustments. They came out just mixing everything up. Missouri didn't. They just kept giving Beatty the ball. And don't get me wrong, I love Tyler Beatty. We've sang his praises from week 1. We think he should be a Heisman winner, if not definitely a candidate. They gave him the ball 41 damn times. At times I'm watching them and I'm like, why do we even have Bazelak in there? Why don't we do like Kentucky with Lynn Bowden last year and just let him, but give him an extra lineman at least. Make the 11 out there help him out just a little. And I mean, that may work with some of these teams in the SEC. It's not going to work against teams like Arkansas, man. And they just got so one-dimensional, caught up, just trying to get Beatty the ball for some reason. I get it. He's a fantastic running back, but we needed some other weapons to step up. And that second half, every time Arkansas had an answer, Missouri didn't. They were 3 and out. They were punting the ball. They were just their drives were being cut short. They just felt like there was no life on that side of the ball. So Beatty needed help, and he definitely needed from quarterback to stop Arkansas from loading up the box.
Yeah, and Arkansas, Shane, they averaged, check this out, 10 yards on first down. Whereas Missouri only averaged 3.9. I mean, when you're giving yourself that big of an advantage on the early downs, that was critical to the football game. And that's why Arkansas just kind of blew the doors off Missouri here. I know, they scored late to make it look a little bit more competitive, but this is what you wanted to see. This is, Arkansas fans say it's not a rivalry. I get all that, but until you beat Missouri, you can't really talk down to them, so you had to get over this hump. And after the game, I don't know if you saw this, Shane, this was maybe the most epic troll job of the week. Let's kick it over to the Arkansas official Twitter handle.
We are Mizzou, so who you?
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, I see.
Oh, man, so that's how you troll someone after a win. You know what?
Oh my God! Poor Mizzou. I've been at the receiving end of this. When you're somebody from your university does something so stupid and lingers around for years. It's like the butt chugging up there at Knoxville. I thought we'd never see the end of that thing. So this video will be played till our death, Mike. So this was hilarious. This wasn't the only thing they did either. They took advantage of the uniform things that they were doing. I mean, Arkansas, they should, if they had awards for, I guess you would say media teams, Arkansas's got it, right? I mean, it's not even close.
Yeah, they're troll.
They're the ultimate troll. They're from,
we need a playoff poll of troll.
Sometimes I look at them like, is this Barstool, Arkansas? It's like, oh no, this is the actual university. Okay, come on now. Vanderbilt's putting on how many bowl games they did in the last 10 years. That's their troll job. You know what I'm saying? Arkansas is just dragging Mizzou through the mud. But buddy, that's awesome because you know why? Next time these two teams meet, it's going to be that much more special. There was so much chippy games that happened this weekend, and it just because kids were playing at a higher level. You know what I'm saying? I think about what's his name down there in Florida with running out with a damn helmet. Pierce. You know what I'm saying? It's just like that kid, it's more than just this game, man. He hates Florida State. This team hates Mizzou. Mizzou hates Arkansas. That's what we love about the rivalries because it just seems like all the players are playing a notch or two higher than they usually do.
Yeah, without a doubt.
It seemed like Traylon got dinged up there early in the first quarter and then came back and had the game he did. Well, what's that say about him, and what have you thought about his season in general, going over 1,000 yards?
He's a bad man. I mean, I asked Dave, I said, where's Burks? He said, the trailer. I said, go get him. I mean, we got to get him out of there. Bad stuff happens in there, but he came back, said he felt fine. He can do almost anything. I mean, he can catch the ball. He running better routes. He can block. Obviously, he ran the option. Just a really, really talented guy and just a better kid than he is talent. And I think everybody knows that. But running that option, wasn't that beautiful? He held it long enough, pitched it out there to Rocket. And the great thing about Burks is him doing that was just every bit as important to him as if he would have been the guy that scored the touchdown. I mean, he's just a special, special person.
Can you express what it means to have all three of your trophy games and trophies?
I don't know if I can. To be perfectly honest with you, we don't have a guy on our team that had any of them ever. Not one that earned one of them. And to have those three trophies in there, and Larry, that's we didn't earn Larry. We bought him for $20, but to have those three trophies in there is big. I didn't know it. Like I said before, Grant said, I said, why you don't make such a big deal out of these trophies? Of course I do. And Grant said, because there's not any of us ever earned one of them. And to have all three of them for the first time in the history of the University of Arkansas, or to beat all three of those teams in the same year, I believe for the first time as well. It's a great tribute to those kids and to my assistant coaches.
You guys give Barry a game ball or a cake or something or anything?
Actually, I didn't. I had the game ball. I gave it to Grant Morgan and I gave it to Joe Fouché, and I asked them to give it to Barry, and they stood up, talked about what Coach Odom means to him, and gave him certainly did give him a game ball. He deserved it.
Tyler Bay did set the single season all-time record today for single rushing yards in the season. Just can you sum up what he's meant to your team this entire year?
I mean, he's a special player. He's a great competitor. He gives us everything he's got. And, for him to get that record, that's a special thing. I know he'll be disappointed in the result today, but I know he was I know he gave us everything he had.
Eli, obviously 65 yards passing is, I'm sure, not what you wanted. I guess just what went into kind of Connor's struggles? What did you see from him?
I'll have to go back and watch the tape. I mean, first drive, we miss a 3rd and short. We miss a wide open pass down the middle that felt like, we felt like we had pretty good dialed up. And just kind of after that, we weren't able to really get into a rhythm, consistently complete footballs down the field. They were playing press man, and, it just weren't connecting there.
Speaking of hate, Shane, got to start here with the Saturday action with the Iron Bowl because, man, you hated this one if you were an Auburn fan, let me tell you, because you were in control of this thing for the vast majority of the game. Although it was only a 10-0 lead, I mean, it felt like 100 for a little while. The way Alabama was playing, their offensive line was struggling. They were struggling to run the ball. Hell, both these teams. I mean, it was more or less two teams that could do almost nothing right on the offensive side. Auburn was getting a big play here or there, which led to, obviously, their 10-point lead. But, man, at the end of the day, once again, you got to be sick to your stomach if you're an Auburn fan. You blow another double-digit lead here. Bryce Young had to lead his team. I believe it was a 97-yard drive with about 90 seconds left in the football game. And he got it done, buddy. He threw a touchdown, an unbelievable touchdown, and an unbelievable touchdown catch by Brooks, the freshman receiver there for Alabama, to kick this thing into overtime. And man, we said it once, we'll say it again. The more I watch of this damn overtime 2-point shootout, the more I hate it, Shane. I mean, I just don't get it, particularly when they go back into their 3rd overtime. They got to start doing the shootout style. It just, I don't know, it just doesn't feel quite like football to me. I don't get your thoughts on that. But, at the end of the day, if you're Brian Harsin, you had an opportunity at the end of, what was it, the second overtime period? No, excuse me, the first overtime period. Alabama scored. They kicked the extra point. You get the ball. You score a touchdown. We've seen it with Sam Pittman. We've seen it with Eli Drinkwitz. You kind of have to. You have to go for 2 there, I think, because you pull out your best 2-point play and you play to win. That's how you play in the damn Iron Bowl when you're a huge underdog. And I get it. Sometimes you say, well, you're the home team. You keep it going. And I understand that logic, but if you watch this game, if you were in that stadium, I mean, I was stunned that Auburn managed to score a touchdown. I don't know about you, Shane, but it was a gut punch of epic proportion. It felt like Alabama was just going to steamroll Auburn in the overtime, and outside of an outstanding catch here or there, they kind of did. So I don't know. I feel like you almost had to steal it after leading for most of the game. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on all that?
Well, there's a lot, Mike. This was a fantastic football game. This is one at the end you can't go to sleep. You know what I'm saying? Because it keeps you all up all night thinking about what could have, what should have. I can only imagine being an Auburn fan because let's face it, man. And I know there's a lot of Alabama fans that listen to this show. You got the bullseye on your back. Okay, you're the big guy. You're the big man on campus. We know that. You've won national championships. You've gone through seasons undefeated. You're used to people hating you. Okay, because everybody likes the underdog story. Hell, you ever seen Rocky Balboa? We didn't watch it because of the Russian guy. We watched it because we wanted Rocky to beat him. You know what I'm saying? That's what college football is all about. You're always pulling for the underdog, and I'm not different. I told you on my prediction that I predicted Alabama to win this game, but deep down inside, Mike, you really wanted Auburn to give them a hell of a game, and that's exactly what they did, especially on the defense, man. This defense came to play, man. They were not allowing Alabama to run the ball at all. They were all over Young back there, making him to make mistakes early in the game. But as the game slows down, you start nitpicking certain decisions like that. Like TJ's interception, it's like, what the hell did you throw that? You know what I'm saying? Why did Tank go out of bounds? I get he was so close to a first down. Why did you run that next play? So you can critique these little things, on the second overtime. I don't know anybody's talking about it, but that was not running into the kicker. That is a personal foul. You just knocked that dude out. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand why that's a 5-yard penalty. But anyway, all that could be said, but then I think the biggest thing for me is just how great this defense was playing. Why, when it was 90 seconds left in this game, did we not have our ears pinned back and send some damn pressure back there? Because I know they were still getting it back there with the 4 that they were bringing, but I'm talking some pressure, man, some linebacker. Forcing him to make those decisions like that. Don't give him a long time to dance around and just nickel and dime it all the way down the field, because you felt like when that was happening that Alabama wasn't going to be stopped. Yes, there's parts of me that hates it for Auburn because you were so damn close. I can only imagine you're still up at night thinking about this game. This was your SEC championship, man. You didn't have a chance to knock them off, and so I hate that for Auburn. But on the flip side of the coin, I love it for Alabama, and this is why, Mike, because I think if Alabama would have lost this game, there's no way you could have got them in the college football playoffs. These guys, this committee wants so bad for there to only be one SEC team. And if it's not obvious by these rankings, then come on, man, wake up. They don't want 2 SEC teams in there. You know what I'm saying? In fact, this game may have hurt Alabama, because if Alabama loses to Georgia and it's close, I don't know if they get in, man, just because of this game right here, because they're saying, well, Arkansas was a 1-score game. Auburn was a 1-score game. They lost to Texas A&M. Look how many teams they lost to. How can we justify putting Alabama in there? So this was not a good game. But I will tell you, Alabama finds a way to win. They gonna have to win. I think, Mike, they're gonna have to win the SEC championship to get in the college football playoffs. They're just damned and determined to get Cincinnati, probably Notre Dame, and all these other shit teams in there. You know what I'm saying? So Alabama's got to win out, and you do that by a close game like this. They found a way to win. Kudos to them. My highlight of this game, Mike, was post game. Nick Saban coming to the sideline. I wish we can include I've never seen him. It's like a kid in a candy store, and it's just like, is this Papa Saban? You know what I'm saying? And then him looking for Miss Terry at the end of the game. I was like, golly, man, there's a gentle side of Saban. Why don't we show this more often? So there was a lot of good, obviously, if you're an Alabama fan, but if you are an Auburn fan, I get it. You're pissed off, you're upset, and you should be, because this is a game you should have won.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, Shane, if old Saban, how close is he near the end? I mean, he's getting his sweet and sensitive side. He's calling out Alabama fans for their high expectations. I was like, my word, when I seen all that. But yeah, we'll get to his comments here in a minute. But he put it perfectly. It's the losses that stick with him. But he said now this will be one that sticks with him. So just interesting. Yeah. He's had such issues with winning in Jordan-Hare, and it felt like this was going to be another one where Alabama comes up short on the Plains, but they get it done. Here I call out the defense one week. This is the problem with Alabama, though. I mean, 1 week is the defense can't stop anybody. Then this game, I know Auburn, it's not like they have the greatest offense, but, I mean, their defense was on point. They were stifling them. But now the issue is the offensive line can't block anybody. And and once we had Jamison Williams get thrown out for a targeting, it's how damn bizarre is it to have a receiver get thrown out for targeting? All we had is John Mechie. Now, he stepped up, 13 catches, 150 yards. I mean, my God, Auburn, you only got to stop one guy. But, hey, he got the job done, so let's give Mechie credit. But it just goes to show, Shane, that, outside of Williams and Mechie, Bryce Young, Will Anderson, I mean, I know I just named 4 All-American type players, but that's about all the real difference makers Alabama's got this year, when they usually got about 20 of them. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of like the flaw of this Alabama team, where they're good, they're very, very good, but they're inconsistent. And I don't know, all these issues that I'm seeing, that's going to be one hell of a nightmare if they don't. If they play like they did here against Auburn, they're going to get crushed by Georgia.
I think you hit the nail on the head, Mike, because what is Georgia good at? And that's getting pressure on the quarterback. So, I mean, Georgia's front 4 feels like front 6 sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And if this offensive line doesn't tighten up real quick, they're going to live in the backfield. So I think Georgia's licking their chops here, but you can never count Alabama out. And this is a prime example, Mike. They're down 10-0. You think there's no way that this game is over. Auburn's. I'm sending out tweets, Mike. I'm making videos and I was waiting. I was like, okay, now's a safe time to go ahead and upload this video. And as soon as I did that, somebody sent me "not so fast, my friend." I was like, shit, Cold Take's gonna get me like Mike here in a minute. So, but yeah, this was a great game. I mean, it was. Forget the outcome. Just if you're not a fan of either team, you could have really enjoyed watching this game. Obviously, Auburn's took a hit, but there's a lot of Tide fans, man, that got humbled this week. But they know that they got to get prepared for this SEC championship.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's kick it over to Nick Saban and Brian Harsin, and in particular, pay attention to the last question Harsin gets asked about his status there at Auburn. I don't know how I feel about this one.
Made some good adjustments at halftime, did a much better job in the second half of moving the ball, and always didn't, pan out for us. But, man, you cannot ever imagine players competing in a game any better than what they competed in this game. I'm talking about the defense getting stops when they needed to, the offense going on a, whatever that was, 90-some yard drive to tie the game, players playing and making plays that hadn't played that much this year, that were young players, but after halftime it just seemed like everybody was all in, and we were fighting like I've never seen us fight, all year long, and it's a great feeling.
Nick, you've had a lot of weird games not go your way in this stadium. The pick six, the kick six, missed field goals. What's it like emotionally being on the other end of it for once?
Well, I just had a feeling that, the way we were playing on defense, that we were going to have some opportunities and be able to come back in the game. Now, I thought that was not a good feeling when we botched the first field goal snap and didn't come out with any points, on that drive, because that would have made 10-3. But it feels really good. More than anything else, sometimes should you equate what you accomplish in this profession from how many games you win, or how many winners you help to develop so that they have a chance to be not only winners on the field but winners in life. And the way these guys sort of overcame adversity in this game and showed great resiliency, and the way they performed, and I said that to them in the locker room after the game. This is something you should always remember, that when you put your best foot forward and you fight and you really believe in something and you do it together as a group, what you can accomplish. So that may happen to you sometime in your life too. So, but anyway, I can't tell you that it feels good. It feels really good to come back and get a win.
And then considering everything that Bryce went through throughout this game, how proud are you of the way he threw down the stretch?
Well, it wasn't Bryce's fault that he was struggling in the first half. We weren't giving him much of a chance. But I think he's got a lot of mental toughness. He's got a lot of grit about him. He's kind of quiet in his demeanor and the way he goes about things, but he's always, kept telling the offense, we're going to get this right. We're going to be all right. We're going to be all right. And I think the players really believe in him. And then when we started making a couple plays and moving the ball, I think we got a little confidence. And I think that helped not only him, but the players around him play better, which enabled him to make a lot of plays that we needed him to make, which he was pretty outstanding in the second half.
Coach, second halves have been a little rough here down the last half of the season. From a coaching standpoint, how do you guys get things turned around in terms of game planning and play calling?
Well, yeah, we'll go back and look at the entire year. We'll have a chance to do all that. Every game is, unique to that particular team that you're playing, and, what are some of those reasons in the second half? We've determined from the games that we played, just execution, play calls, you name it. It's a combination. It's never one thing. It's a combination of things. And, the bottom line is in the second half, and we showed it today. I mean, there were some good things in the second half that we did. And ultimately, not enough as we got into overtime. So we played a second half of football, and we didn't play that fifth quarter like we wanted to, and that was the result, is we didn't win the game. So, those will be evaluations as we get through the entire year. We'll have a chance to look at some of that into our bowl prep. But that's what you go back and evaluate. What's our second half? What's our first half? And there's a lot of things that we're going to work to improve on, which, every single year, that's what you do as a staff, is you go back and review the things that you did, and you look at what you learned from that, and you try to apply that moving forward.
Recruiting thing and all that stuff, and getting going forward. So does that mean that you are committed to staying here? There's been rumors about you potentially looking at other jobs. Does that mean, from what you're saying, that you're committed to continue on here at Auburn?
I'm always committed to what I'm doing. This is, we're just coming off a tough game. I came to Auburn for a reason. I mean, look at the history of my coaching career, and this isn't about me. This is about our team tonight. We played a good football team. We didn't win. I'm disappointed. Our players are disappointed. I care more about what the hell they think, and that we got to take care of those guys. But there's a reason why we came to Auburn, and so just do a little research and see the history of the things that I've been able to do and been a part of, and there's a reason why we're here. Auburn's a great place. Love it. Love the community here. I love where we're going with this program. Disappointed as hell, but at the same time, excited about the future and the things that we're going to be able to do and the stuff that's happening here in this program. So, whatever you want to say with that right there, yeah. Those guys in that locker room know where I stand, and everybody in this program and this coaching staff knows where I stand. I love it here. I love the orange and blue, and we got a lot more work to do. So we're going to continue that, and we're not going to let anybody distract us from doing the work necessary to go out there and be the type of team that we know we can be. And, as long as our guys stay focused, I will, and our staff, then we'll be able to achieve those things at some point. So, that's the single-minded focus that we have in this program coming from the head coach, is where we're trying to go and how we're going to do it.
I just wanted to play that real quick, Shane, because, hell, I think we might, based on that, we may have another coaching change here in the SEC. You know what?
That's it, man. This door's never closed, is it? It's a revolving carousel of coaches. It's a tough place, man. It's a tough place to be. Not everybody can be Nick Saban. And nobody can just sit down there or say Stoops. I guess he's the next longest term guy. It's tough to do in this league, and you just got to find ways to win, and you can't. It's a revolving door. You look at the years past. How many times have we had the same SEC championship? Yeah, the last 10 years, Alabama, those teams, LSU's, those have been up to the top. But if you look back 20, 30 years, it's a revolving door, man. Your team's going to suck at some point. So, and at that point, they're probably going to blame your coach. So, I don't know. Is this the year that he leaves? I hope he doesn't, man. I like what he's done down there at Auburn. I think in a few years he can really be competitive down there in the West. I hope he doesn't pull a Lincoln, realize he gotten a little too much. But I think he sticks around, Mike. What do you? Or do you think he's leaving? I'm hearing a lot of leaving, but I'm trying to stay positive here.
Yeah, I'm kind of hearing the same. I think he'll come back because I think it's a coward's way out to show up one year and peace out. So, hey, you came for the SEC for a reason. You came to compete for championships. Let's at least see if you can do it. And hell, the way we run it down here, if you can't get it done, well, here's a check for $20 million to go to hell.
That's right. Oh, poor Dan Mullen. I hope he's okay today.
All right, Shay, we got to move on to, speaking of fired coaches here, LSU, Coach O's final game, beats Texas A&M on the last drive of the game, at least for the Tigers, 27-24. After the game, Coach O said, this is it for me, not coaching the bowl game. But, man, this was a game, right to script. Like Shane said, man, it's like there's no trust Seamus over here. But LSU came out, played some inspired football. A&M not so much. Now A&M they asserted their dominance here in the second half. I thought for sure they were going to lock this thing down. Hell, just like Shane in the last game, I was celebrating A&M's win here while LSU was still in their game-winning drive because I said no way in hell they're going to march down the field. They scored 3 points the entire second half until this touchdown drive engineered by Max Johnson hit Jeray Jenkins for the game winner. But man, what a game here for Coach O. What an ending. He's going out. Shane, he says he's going to take his smoking hot girlfriend Brandy to Destin, and that's it for him, man. I mean, he's not taking them kids. The kids are not allowed to come on the trip. And here we are, Jimbo Fisher. I'm not piling on Jimbo because, everybody makes the contract jokes and the Kevin Sullivan jokes, but man, what a disappointing season, Shane. There's no way that you could have told me that Texas A&M was going to beat Alabama this year and finish 8-4. I just never in my life would have seen any path to that happening. Could you?
No. This is how do you not chalk this up as a disappointing season for both these programs? I think there was a lot of folks thinking that, I don't know, maybe this is the year LSU gets back in the mix. They took a year off, young team, talented team. Coach O gets these boys fired up. And then Texas A&M on the other side, a lot of people, myself included, were like, hey, man, these guys could seriously win the West. They beat teams like Alabama. It's just a damn roller coaster all the way through, man. It's got to be frustrating. Because you know that you got the ingredients to make a hell of a recipe. You know what I'm saying? It's just you've not been able to put them together properly. And then when you do, you look great. But when you don't, you got egg on your face. You know what I'm saying? And it felt like this game, this defense, I'll tell you, LSU defense, this is a Texas A&M offense that's had no problems running the ball. But to keep these guys in check, I mean, what do they have, like 50 yards rushing on this thing? That blows my mind. This LSU defense, if there is like a, what do you call it? Like when you bounce back, there's a word they use, like a comeback.
Rebound?
I guess, yeah, like that's this defense. Like if you're giving an award to some sort of offense or defense of the SEC, which one has bounced back the most? I got to give it to LSU's defense just because they're playing, like I said earlier, with their hair's on fire, man. These guys came out energetic. They shut down the Texas A&M offense, and that's what they wanted. They wanted this to come down to Calzada's arm.
Yeah, and people give Coach O hell, Shane, for calling out his coaches and saying it's too complicated and we're not doing this, we're not doing that. And hell, he lit a fire under their ass because here in the second half, they were playing a lot better down the stretch. Never gave up. Again, you lose to Alabama. You could have easily won that game. You lose to Arkansas. Could have easily won that game. How many of these teams with a losing record would have said to hell with the season? But not these LSU Tigers. And all week they said they were going to beat the Aggies. They backed it up on the field. So we got to give them credit. But, I mean, it's kind of like you said. I mean, this is going to be a season filled of regrets of what could have been for both these teams. It's just a disappointing year, but hey,
what about how do you say his name? Is it Damon Clark or Damone Clark? I can never say his name right. Did you hear what he said? He came out after the game. He says, I heard stuff people were saying about me. What they going to say now? That kid was on fire out there, man. He had 10 tackles, 2.5 sacks. It felt like he was on Calzada every other play. It was a hell of a senior game for him, man.
Yeah, he's an All-American, no doubt.
Say now?
just a wild ride here, and I was going to mention, of course, late in the game there was it was a really bad call. I'll give the Aggies that. I mean, they got screwed on the punt return. They stripped the guy. It was called a forward progress, which kept LSU the ball. But hey, same thing I've said, and I say this all the time, Shane. I said it against Arkansas, Mississippi State. There was a bad call in that one, but you still had opportunities to stop them. And Texas A&M with their defense should have stopped LSU. So bad call, yes. Is that the only thing that cost you the game? No. you gotta respond to the adversity. And if I was A&M, I'd be pissed too, and I'd be whining and bitching too. But at the end of the day, you had your opportunities there at the end, and you didn't get it done.
That's the key, Mike. Like Mississippi State, had opportunities, didn't capitalize, and now you lost. So I'm happy for them LSU Tigers because they have gone through a lot this year, losing players, losing their coach, and securing a bowl game. Say what you want, man. That's extra practices with this young squad. Obviously, they're going to have a new coach in there, but I don't know. It's always nice to get to a bowl game and win at home for these seniors. Those seniors have been through a lot, man. You talk about ups and downs. That program has gone through it, man. Hey, and Jimbo got back on the plane, so that's good. He didn't stay. So.
What's up, guys? How about them Tigers, baby? Y'all not excited?
Coach, what were you thinking watching the final drive? Your guys.
I thought something good was going to happen. I just felt that we had enough time. We had done so many 2-minute drills over the course of the year that our guys were prepared. I just felt like something good was going to happen. We kept on making play after play after play, and we kept on fighting.
You've always said you're not going to make it about you, but just this game, it's like a movie. The coach is going out, the last second drive down the field, you win at the end and all that. I mean, how will you remember this?
Yeah. It was for the 19 seniors, that's what they were. I didn't even think about this is for me or nothing like that. I've had my share, man. I'm happy. This is my last game with the Tigers. Me and the administration have mutually decided that I will not coach the bowl game. Coach Brad Davis is going to be the interim coach. And then I told the guys I wish them luck. I'm not going to sit here and coach when there's another guy coming in and be the head coach next week or the week after. I'm not going to do that. This is my team. And as soon as they get a new head coach, I was going to go. And but the administration, Stephanie's in here, Scott's in here. They've been great to me. We decided on this, and I mutually agree with everything. And I wish our guys the best. So I hope they go to a great bowl. I know that Brad Davis is going to do a good job. Whoever the new coach is, I wish him all the luck in the world. I'm always going to be an LSU Tiger fan.
Coach Ower in the back. I remember after a memorable win 2 years ago, you said you're going to watch SportsCenter and eat a ham sandwich. Could you give us a glimpse into what your final night here as a head coach of LSU is going to be like?
I'm packing to go to Destin. I'll be there tomorrow.
You bring in the boys, or who goes to Destin with you?
Me and Brandy going. Boys got to stay home this time.
Coach, when you came out, you bumped your chest and you pointed up to the sky. Was that for your dad?
That was my dad, yeah. I always do it. I felt it, man. I want to say this to y'all. Man, hey, 6 years, man, you've been fair to me. I love y'all. Been good, man. Y'all, hey, I look forward to meeting with you guys. Every one of you guys have been fair to me, man. I'm always going to be around. And if you come to Destin, we got a little suntan lotion for you boys. Go Tigers.
Why would you say that the run game was kind of stalled out a little bit early?
Got beat. Just couldn't move them. They were big guys. They were playing 5-man. They were playing bear. They were playing double eagle and 4 eyes, and they were trying to stop it. And they were giving us the pass. That's why we had to get there. And they were big bodies of 330, 40 pounds. So they played it. And I mean, it's like when they played Alabama and some of those teams inside. Then we got some outside game going finally, and got some mix and got some passing and got them out of there and then mixed it up. But you had to keep good balance in what we did. But they're big, strong guys, and what they play is based to stop the runs. It's basically a bare front.
This one hurt more, Coach, just because you got so much more time before you play the next.
And they all hurt. They all hurt. They all hurt when you don't have success. There's no one that hurts anymore. They're all the same.
Well, speaking of going through a lot, Shane, these Gators, they bounced back from Dan Mullen firing from one hell of a rough month to beat Florida State 24-21. And as soon as I saw the pregame fight between them Gators and Seminoles, I said, oh, my God, I made a huge mistake. And the stadium, hey, let's give the fans credit. Shane, they announced leading up to this one on Friday that it was officially a sellout. What other, how many fan bases? You fire your coach, dead in the water season, 5-6, yet you're selling the stadium out. I mean, my goodness, that is a terrific sign of support there by the Florida Gators crew. So give them a ton of credit. And this team, for the most part, responded, Shane, outside of, if not for Emory Jones throwing 3 interceptions, they would have whooped FSU's ass here. And, again, that led to me getting, cold take?
Yeah. Yeah, boy. Yeah, but the problem was you had Matt Corral in there, too, I mean.
Yeah, so if you missed it, man, this guy, I don't know what this guy does with his life, but he's out here. He's got tweets of mine since from 2017 where basically what I said was when Dan Mullen got the job, they kicked Matt Corral to the curb, flipped him for Emory Jones. I said that would be a major upgrade for them Florida Gators. Whoops.
What was the last part you
Matt
got?
Corral may win the Heisman. Emory Jones should not be starting, but hey, he got me again. This is becoming a weekly tradition here on the show. But all right, a little editing error there, probably jacked up the show there. But yeah, so Florida Gators, man, they got it done when they stepped it up. They got it done when they faced the Seminoles. Shane, Greg Knox now 2-0 as an interim coach both times after Dan Mullen unable to coach the team. Biggest question for me entering this game, you kind of hit on it a little bit with the Dameon Pierce. What a machine he was, but why in the hell did they not have Anthony Richardson out there longer or sooner, rather, after all these Emory Jones interceptions? If, I'm not trying to pile on Emory Jones, but I got to think that had Anthony Richardson started this game and played the whole way through, this would have been a slaughter.
I'm piling on him. I mean, come on, Mike. I mean, here we are. We're seriously, think about this. We're 12 games in. I mean, how can you look at this body of work and say, you know what, Emory, he didn't cause us some. I know these kids are college kids and all this stuff, but damn, let's be realist here for a second, okay? Is Emory Jones your future? Is he? At some point, you should have just said, you know what? Okay, we're growing this season. And the reason that Dan got fired is because he wasn't ready to turn the reins over to the young talent. Are you going to struggle during games? Absolutely. But when you get to the end of the year and you got all that experience under your belt, you can say, you know what? We're going to be pretty damn good next year because we finally got a quarterback. You got to get those reps. And the only thing I can guess is Anthony is maybe he's bad at practice. How many times have we seen a quarterback come out and you're like, well, man, they're just not ready to give him a shot or something like that. He must be really bad, or Emory must be really good at practice. But, it's different when the lights are on. When the lights are on, Richardson makes plays. That's what I love about it. Not just with his arms, but with his legs. He's a complete package. He is a 5-star quarterback, Mike, that needs the opportunity. Is he rough around the edges? Absolutely. But he needs to practice right now. What do you have to lose? You know what I'm saying? So I think once you saw it out there, we saw a spark. I'm not saying just from him. I talked about it earlier. I think Pierce was playing lights out, man. I mean, this kid looked like them. I mean, he was just a wrecking ball out there, and that's what I loved about it. I loved the heart. You could just see these guys wanted to beat Florida State. They didn't care about the bowl, Mike. They just wanted to beat the shit out of Florida State, and I think that's what they did on the field.
Now let's move on, Shay, to Georgia taking care of business with Georgia Tech 45-0. And, man, there wasn't much to take away from this one other than, hey, George Pickens saw the field. That was great. Recorded his first catch of the season, getting him ready for a playoff run here. And how about this, Shane? If you take away the end of each half, which were, basically just kneel downs, Georgia scored a touchdown. They scored on every single possession. The first possession of the game was a field goal. Every other possession, touchdown for them Georgia Bulldogs. And Georgia Tech opened the game 3 of 4 possessions with the 3 and out. That was basically, this was a no contest. And, hey, we already knew Georgia was the best team in the country, but they just continued to never have a down week. It doesn't matter the opponent. It doesn't matter if it's at home or away. They are just running through every single buddy. And, man, this is as locked in as I can remember a complete team being. You know what?
What do we talk about here? There was nothing really to talk about this game except I will say Stetson threw some damn dimes in here, buddy. I know it's against Georgia Tech and everything, but it could have been against Alabama. It could have been against anybody in the country. He was throwing some dimes, and I think that's a sign for me because what we didn't want to see is these guys come out and just do the bare minimum to get through a game. It felt like they were really giving all they had there to start, and that's why they jumped on Georgia Tech so early. His defense is still looking damn dominant. they're on cruise control, man. But it ramps up real quick. The Georgia Tech to Alabama, that's a different animal, Mike. But again, not much to say here. You killed them.
Now, how about Tennessee beating Vanderbilt 45-21? And I can never remember such a ho-hum 24-point SEC win. But when the Vols opened the game with a pick-6 touchdown, Theo Jackson, the senior, right in front of his mom, how cool was that? But, Tennessee's offense does what Tennessee's offense does. They were basically going all up and down on the Vanderbilt Commodores outside of, a lot of fourth down conversions for both of these teams. That's kind of something that stood out to me. Mike Wright, he had an all right game, but Tennessee had two players, Jabari Small and Jalen Wright, both go over 100 yards. Cedric Tillman got another 100-yard receiving performance. But, man, Tennessee just did whatever they wanted, took care of business. And, again, new era under Josh Heupel, no taking a foot off the gas, no disrespecting any opponent. They don't play down to the level of the competition more is what I'm trying to say. And like I said, a 24-point victory felt like kind of a disappointing performance because they didn't even cover it. You know what?
Well, it does, and I will say this, Mike. Every team in the SEC except Vanderbilt made a bowl game. But I'm telling you what, if Vanderbilt would have been playing all their games like they've played the last two, that may be a different story. Because I want to tell you, this team was a little bit more competitive than folks give them credit for. Myself, you look at it, you're like, hey, 2 wins. All right, Vanderbilt sucks. But I'm telling you, these guys the last 3 or 4 weeks have been playing tough. I like this quarterback. I like this Pierce Jr. on the outside. I think they found ways to orchestrate conversions on third down. Even fourth down. Vanderbilt was a tough team to get off the field. I know that sounds crazy, but there was some really good things that came from that game. And if you're a Vandy fan, I think you're feeling a little bit better about your program here to the tail end of this season going into next year. It didn't work out the way you wanted it to this year, but if you look at the development these kids have had since week 1 to now, come on, baby. Let's see what they got next year. I think it's going to be a tougher game for Tennessee. So now on the Volunteer side, we weren't able to move like we wanted to. This is the first time we didn't score offensive points in the first quarter. This Vanderbilt did a good job of holding on to the ball, slowing us down, and not fake injuries slow us down, just legitimate good defensive stand. So I think that's the key. Is there was some good on both sides, and there were some things we need to work on. Tennessee is still a fundamentally sound offense, man, and they show it. Once they can get two-dimensional, once they can get that running game, take the pressure off Hooker, then it just opens up those throwing lanes. Because once you get that running, you get that box, you get these safeties starting to creep up a little bit. Next thing you know, you can take advantage of those downfield passes. And how many times did Hooker throw the ball? And it's just like, where did the defense go? You know what I'm saying? That was because we were able to run the ball. So that's what I like. Again, Tillman, silent hero here, man. This guy, another 2 touchdown performance, another 100-yard game. This kid's legit. This kid's an All-American.
Yeah, no doubt, Shane. Well, we got to move this thing along. And speaking of, All-Americans and them Kentucky Wildcats, Shane, oh, man, being disrespected. Louisville's the favorite. What? They had alleged All-American at quarterback. He did not look like it because Kentucky whooped them 52-21. And Louisville quarterback's name's Cunningham. Man, you nailed it. You were all over this one, Shane. You said these guys come into these SEC matches, get exposed. 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, 145 yards for Cunningham through the air, while Will Levis turned around and got 4 rushing touchdowns with Chris Rodriguez adding one of his own, and Wan'Dale Robinson, Shane, 9 catches, 97 yards. He set the all-time Kentucky school record for most catches in a season with 90. Wan'Dale Robinson did, and man, Kentucky came out pissed that Louisville was the favorite, and man, they let it be known. I mean, they should never be the favorite on Mark Stoops in Kentucky. You know what?
Absolutely. A couple guys in Vegas got fired this weekend, Mike, because this was the easiest bet we've ever had to make. I'm like, is there something else? Is there something we don't? Is it supposed to snow or something? It's like I don't know what's going on here. So, no, Kentucky came out. They destroyed Louisville, exactly what they planned on doing. They looked good doing it. It felt like Mark just watched a couple of hours of game film saying, you know what, I think we could just run on these guys. You know, it's like they came out, and that's exactly what they did. Louisville had no answer for the run game, and they just kept the clock moving, kept the scoreboard going. This was not a ball game. It was over right out of the gates. I never felt so good about a bet in my life till after that first touchdown. I was like, oh my God, this is like printing money, Mike. I wish I had put more on it.
Yeah, the first 9 drives, Shane, Kentucky scored on 8 of them. I mean, that's incredible. That it was the Kentucky offense we saw against Tennessee. I mean, this was just an unstoppable unit, and then the defense was doing their part outside of allowing Louisville to score on the first possession. But I mean, beyond that, it was just total domination, and a great cap for Kentucky to head into this bowl game now on a 3-game winning streak. 9-win season, have an opportunity to win 10 games in a season. That's a hell of a year there. If you're a Kentucky
victory.
Wildcat.
There's a reason Stoops on everybody's board, man, because of seasons like this. This is not a unusual season for Kentucky. This is usual activity here. They expect now 9-10 wins every single year, and they're going to keep doing it, man. And I lost Mike.
Real quick, Shane, last one here before my camera dies. I hate to even say it, but Clemson 30, South Carolina 0. We were the 2 idiots picking South Carolina to win this football game, but man,
let's
just
close it out,
offense.
Mike. Let's just close it out. Yeah.
No offense for the Gamecocks yet again. And man, I was getting fired up. That Clemson quarterback, Uli Gooley, whatever, he threw an interception. I was feeling great about this pick. And then, that's about all the highlights of this one.
Yeah, Mike, I was very, very disappointed with this game. And the biggest part for me was it felt like South Carolina didn't belong there. Going into this game, they felt nervous. They felt we had some stupid penalties right out of the gate. Yes, we had a little momentum with the interception. We still couldn't do anything with it. It was terrible, man. And then when you look at the offense side, they could get nothing going, man. Almost barely 200 yards of total offense. That's ridiculous, especially with a down year with Clemson. So I just think these boys got over-pumped about the Auburn game. It hung over. They made the bowl season, so it's still a good win. But I think it's a little too early to crown Coach Beamer for Coach of the Year. They definitely needed to win this one. And but it's still, 30-0, not exactly what you want. But I saw improvement with South Carolina this year. It's just this one right here, they felt like that little brother. You know what I'm saying? And that's what they couldn't have. They needed to come in expecting to win this game, and that's they didn't.
All right, buddy. Well, hey, that's going to do it for this episode. Went long, and we're having all kinds of technical difficulties on this one. But I do appreciate, as always, you hanging out. I appreciate each and every one of you for checking us out. And we'll be back all week to get you caught up on the latest coaching rumors and all that's going on. I'll be making my picks for Coach of the Year, Players of the Year, all that this week on the show. So it's not just going to be Georgia and Alabama this week. We're going to be covering the entire SEC. But, hey, that's all I got on this one. I'll catch you on the next one.
All right. See you guys. Go Vols. We went full Rogan on this one, didn't we?